Retiring early comes with its own set of obstacles and challenges. Here are a few that you may have forgotten about. Hello everyone, my name is Zach and welcome to On Cash Flow, where I help you become a master of your own cash flow. Now let's get started. The very first downside of early retirement that I want to talk about is everyone wants your time. Just because you are no longer working full-time does not mean that your time is any less valuable than someone who is still working. But a lot of people seem to forget about this or seem to think the opposite. And so a lot of people, whether knowingly or unknowingly, are out there to try to steal your valuable time. Sometimes they have good intentions, sometimes they have bad intentions, sometimes their intentions are neutral. But still, there are a lot of people that are going to want some of that time that you have. And this can come in many different forms, such as asking you to do a favor for them or run some errands with them, or just to hang out and do something during their free time. But you know what else besides actual individual people out there that are there to steal your time? There are many other kinds of entities that are out there to try to steal your time, such as your television, your smartphone, applications and things like that. Many of these modern things are strictly designed in order to try to steal as much of your time and attention as possible, because most likely they want to end up selling you something. And so you have to be even more vigilant when you retire early or when you become financially independent of those entities and people around you who want to steal your valuable time. So here is the solution. Keep tabs on your free time. Make sure that you are using your free time to do the things that you want to do, and try to minimize the outward influence of those entities and people who want to take your valuable free time. Before we get on to number 2, I just want to say really quick that this video is sort of like a part 2 of a previous video that I did called The Forgotten Consequences of Financial Independence. And I'm going to recommend that video at the end of this video, so make sure you stay to the end. Number 2 on this list, everyone wants your money. Just because you retired early, just because you are financially independent, that doesn't mean that you can spend frivolously without any kind of consequences. But many people seem to forget this. And the people that may seem to forget this could be ones that are very close to you, such as your friends and family. They might know that since you retired early, you would be considered to be wealthy. And by comparison to most people, maybe you are considered to be wealthy. But that still does not mean that you can just spend frivolously without any thought. So while you definitely need to keep your friends and family in check when it comes to your spending, there are many other kinds of entities and things out there that also want your money. And those other things are probably a lot more detrimental. And I'm talking about things like financial advisors, investment firms, brokerages, insurance companies. All of these kinds of companies and businesses are designed to help you handle your money. But you know what they do when they're helping you handle your money in your financial life? They are siphoning off large portions of it. There are many industries that are designed to target those who have retired or those who are independently wealthy. And if you want to stay wealthy and stay retired, then you need to be aware of their true intentions. So here is the solution. Be generous with your money, but also be cautious and keep yours and your family's long-term interests in mind. And now moving on to number 3, another downside of F.I.R.E. is the uncertainty of health insurance, especially here in the United States. Because the workplace is where the vast majority of Americans get their health insurance, because their employers often cover a large percentage of the cost of health insurance, whereas the employee covers the remaining amount, which is usually a much smaller percentage of the total overall cost. However, obviously, if you are retired or you are financially independent and you're no longer working at a full-time job, you may not have access to that employer subsidized health insurance. And for a long time, this was a huge barrier to retiring early. Thankfully, right now, currently, at least as I make this video, we have another solution in the financial independence community known as the premium tax credit. And this was a tax credit that was put in place by the Affordable Care Act, which basically meant that you could buy insurance through the healthcare.gov marketplace, and you would receive a health credit to help offset the cost of that monthly health insurance bill. This has been a game changer. However, it is not set in stone forever. Will the premium tax credit last forever? I do not know. And with that comes much uncertainty about the future of health insurance costs in the United States. Because even if you get a plan through the healthcare.gov marketplace, your premium might be close to $500 per month for an individual or closer to $1,000 for a family. However, depending on your income level every single year, the amount of tax credit that you receive for that health insurance bill could cover the entire amount. It could cover a significant amount, or it could cover, just a small amount. It just depends on how much income you have in the particular plan that you are on. And for those that are using the premium tax credit that covers a significant portion of their overall premiums, they probably could not stay retired or stay financially independent if that went away and they remained on that same plan, because we're talking about hundreds of dollars per month here. Thus, there is a very large uncertainty about the future costs of health insurance in the United States. But we do have a solution here. The solution is to accept that uncertainty, because there is always going to be uncertainty in life. with almost every aspect of your life. You cannot know the future. You have to be able to accept some uncertainty, and you have to be able to adapt and overcome future obstacles in your life. And that includes when you retire or when you become financially independent. You have to accept the fact that things may not remain the same forever how they are now. And if you can learn to accept that and have a backup plan, I think that you're going to be fine. All right, now moving on to the next downside here. You must be aware that your potential for wealth building is significantly diminished if you choose to retire early and stop working full time. Now, this isn't always the case, of course, but this is a case for a more traditional retirement when you're actually withdrawing from your investments. And that's because obviously, once you start doing asset depletion, you start taking from your investments, the potential of compounding is interrupted a little bit, and therefore the amount of compound growth you can expect from your investments is going to be diminished compared to if you were not withdrawing from those investments. And depending on how aggressive your asset withdrawal strategy is, the potential for growth can be stopped altogether. In fact, you could over time lead to a smaller net worth from your asset depletion. Compare this to just not contributing any more to your investments. Your investments would still grow over time if they were not interrupted by asset depletion. In order to help illustrate the fact that your wealth building potential is interrupted once you retire early, let's look at a few numbers here. Now imagine you started with a $1 million portfolio and you had 20 years ahead of you. Option one is to keep investing. If you kept investing $3,000 per month and you had an average rate of return, you would have an investment portfolio of about $6.8 million. Option two, if you stopped investing altogether, but you didn't make any withdrawals from your $1 million portfolio, then you would end up with $4.6 million. And that's simply just the power of compound interest right there. Remember, you weren't contributing any more to it. And then there's option three, where you actually retire and you start withdrawing from that $1 million portfolio. If you started withdrawing $40,000 per year, meaning you were following the 4% withdrawal rule, then at the end of 20 years, you would have a portfolio worth $2.4 million. Obviously, as you can see, there is a significant difference between if you kept contributing versus if you didn't make any withdrawals, and versus when you actually start making withdrawals from the portfolio. The ending portfolio balance in those three scenarios is vastly different. So what's the solution to this? Well, you need to accept that you won't be as wealthy in the future if you retire early. You need to accept that if you choose financial independence and you choose to start making withdrawals from your portfolio, then your potential for wealth building will be diminished. And if you are okay with that and you're happy where you are in your life, then I think that is a perfectly acceptable trade-off to make. Now, I want to take a quick break here and ask you, what are some other consequences of retiring early that aren't mentioned in this video? Please let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say. And now getting on to my next downside. This has nothing to do with money, but this has to do with a lack of structured routine. Without a regular work routine, your day is by default unstructured. And so it is up to you on whether you want to structure it or not, or how you want to structure it. Having an unstructured day can be great for some people with some certain types of personalities, but for others it is very difficult. For others with certain kinds of personalities, they thrive on having a structured routine. And so without that outside influence of work structuring your day for you, it is up to you to make that structure if you need it in your life. And it is up to you to find a way to stick to it. You know yourself better than anyone. Are you the type of person that needs structure in your life, that needs a routine? Or are you someone who needs less structure in their life and does better with an unstructured day? No matter what your personality type is, here is the solution. Find out what you want your average day to look like, what you want your average routine to look like, and then make it happen. So it's important to remember, while there certainly are consequences and downsides of financial independence, there are many other benefits and upsides to it as well. I do have another video that I want you to check out. It's kind of a part one to this video. It's about more forgotten consequences of financial independence. Okay, that video is going to be in the comments below. It'll be in the description, and it'll pop up on the screen right after I get off the screen. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Zach from OnCashflow.com, and I hope to see you next time. Find out what you want your average day to look like. Doesn't mean that you can spend frivolously. There are many industries